heading into week 4 now. And for those of you that were here last week, I mean, you actually saw what happened to us live. I mean, we were talking through some options, and at the end of the day, weren't exactly sure what we were going to do. And then we looked at the board, and it seems as though one of the pools had locked. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. So I thought we were completely dead out of one of them. So we took the safer play, which was Texas, and put it in the office football pool one, and then figured that we were either out of the other one or we get a break or something. So I emailed the people. I said, hey, listen, the first game hasn't even started yet. Can you just give us Cleveland? You know what I mean? Whatever. And they said, fine, you can, whatever, you can have Cleveland. I mean, they weren't really supposed to do that, but I've probably been in so many pools with them, they figure what's the difference. And Cleveland, they lost their first game, and then like they never played like the rest of the week apparently. Like it was rain out, and then they lost yesterday, and that was it. Saturday, and that was it. They didn't do a doubleheader to make it up, so we're out of the one pool, but we are still in the other pool, which is the bigger buy-in pool, if that's worth anything. And we have one strike in that. So what we're going to do is I'm going to review the rules, go through the pool, and then we're going to get into the options. So again, the rules in this pool is that you get to make one pick per week for a team, and they have to go 500 or better, which is a big deal. You get to pick each team only once, but you get like one strike. So if you get knocked out, you get another chance. The other thing I have to actually confirm or unconfirm is if we get knocked out with a team, can we not use that team again? Probably not.
What do you? I'm confused about that one. What is
so
that?
we got a strike with taking. Who do we take? Houston.
Yeah.
So does that mean that we can't take Houston? Yeah, it probably means that also.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. So let's review like where the pool is at right now. So we were down. Okay, so they started what they started with, but overall they're down to 60 survivors. 11 people got eliminated actually with the aforementioned Cleveland in this pool, and so where we have is 60 survivors, and then of them, one of them, which is like 24 of them like us have one strike. So right. 36 are clean and 24 are one strike. So we definitely have some work to do to catch up to the people that have the 0 strikes. Okay, but we're still in, so we're dealing with it. So as I mentioned before, because the rules are that you have to go either 500 or better. The key is, as we've gone over every week, but again for the people that are just here for the first time, the key is to pick teams, with the exception of like strong outliers, that have an even number of games. Just because of the way the math works out, it's just infinitely easier to go 3-3 than this to go 4-3. The other thing that we don't have to worry about anymore is in the other pool, they made us take a team during All-Star Week. That was 3, and they only had like 3 games that week. So we really had to make sure to save teams for that particular week. That's not the case with this pool. I think there's no pick that week in this pool. So we don't have that constraint anymore. So with that said, this is what this pool will show you, similar to the other one, is kind of the breakdown of the teams and what their schedules are. Now, what this pool also shows you is the opponent's weighted win percentage. But again, that's just it's not based on projected win percentage, which is most important. It's not based on last year. This is just based on the 20 games this season. I mean, it's better information than nothing, but it's definitely it's got sample size issues. It's got all kinds of issues. So what we're going to do is we're going to go through all of the games that are even number, that even number of all the teams that have even number of games. And Bob and I did, send an email back and forth with a couple of ideas, but just to kind of show you the process, we'll show you the teams that we could like kind of knock out right away and teams that we're interested in. So Pittsburgh is the first one. They have 3 against the Dodgers and 3 at Nationals. I always, before I just knock stuff out, especially when we're getting later, and we have to kind of do stuff, I always want to just double check that it's not just a great pivot. And I will say that at some point in the season, like if it's really down to it and we have to do something, the Pirates would end up being like just an atrocious but maybe necessary dart throw. But this early in the season, when the goal is for the most part to still survive, there's no need to mess with the Dodgers, and there's no need to mess with Pittsburgh either, so to speak.
Right.
So they are a toss. But I just wanted to just at least get us in the impression of just at least looking at everything. So the first, so just to go the way that they're listed here, the team that has definitely the best winning chances, by a lot, is going to be Milwaukee. They're 3 home against Tigers and 3 home against the Angels. And they're probably also going to be the most popular. Now, as we get later in the season, Bobby, you'll see that we'll be able to tell what teams have been burned already, and that you'll be able to tell like scarcity and stuff like that. Like right now, we just know nobody's really taking Milwaukee in anyway. So they're very available to everybody, and everybody's going to see this. So they're going to be extremely popular, and yet they are going to be a big, have a lot of winning chances. So I characterize this as the best play if the goal is just to survive, but they're going to be significantly owned, and it's something, that ownership is something to consider. Just give me your thoughts on this in general.
Yeah, so I mean, I do. I agree that Milwaukee would be the most natural team to take here, and I'm fine with taking a stand on it. And I mean, the Tigers have been the second best team in baseball so far. I don't know how long that's going to continue, and I don't know if that's the exact idea of a pivot, especially as they're missing their second best player, I guess you'd call them, and they haven't even been playing Reynolds as much, so they're just on a tear without their best guys. I don't want to latch myself to that. I do think that Milwaukee, if everything was perfect, that would make the most sense probably. But I'm all for saving Milwaukee till Woodruff gets back in general. That way that you have all of the aces up there, and that would be my strategy would be to fade Milwaukee this week. But you're going to have to make an uncomfortable pick a little bit. That's where I'm at this week.
I'm glad we're on the same page. Baltimore 7 games, Texas 7 games, Atlanta 7 games. The Mets, they are home against the Nationals, which is good. I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, they have 3 against the Braves.
Just a little bit too scary, right?
Yeah, I consider this a little fringy. I mean, listen, they very well could go, 1, 2, 3, and end. You know what I mean? Like, if
you don't even worry about Atlanta, right?
You don't have to worry about Atlanta, but even if they go 2-1 against Atlanta, you're kind of sweating a little bit,
Yeah.
So I'm probably off of them as well. Yankees 7. All right, so next is a pretty interesting one. Pretty interesting pivot here. You have Toronto. They have 3 home against the White Sox, and they have 3 home against the Mariners. So that's 6 home games, which is good. They probably rate to be favored in probably all of the games against the White Sox, I would imagine, and probably at least 1, right? Maybe 2, depending on how it works out against the Mariners. Look, the Mariners do have some good pitching.
Probably, but they're probably favored in at least, because Gausman will pitch one of those because he just pitched. So
right.
In that game, no matter what, pretty much. Even though the scary thing about taking someone against the White Sox, even though they're 7-15, is they have 3 legitimate guys who, when they're on, can be almost unhittable. Like with C's Giolito, who's all over the map. You never know what you're getting. And then you've got Lance Lynn, who's also a little bit streaky. Right. So it's a little nerve-wracking. And then you get the good pitching staff for the Mariners. But you have all the games at home. My only fear was maybe this gets to be one of the highest owned.
Yeah, I was going to say. I was going to say this could be the pivot off the pivot, so to speak. This could be the pivot, the natural thing that people do if they don't want to play Milwaukee. So, I have Toronto as a pivot. I didn't have them as my favorite, but I definitely think that they're certainly an option. So for me right now, it's Milwaukee and Toronto before we move onward. Moving on, Chicago Cubs. 3 games against the Padres isn't really appealing to me. So I think we're gonna pass on that. Houston playing 3 games where nobody wins at Tampa doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So that's dead. Miami 7 games, Minnesota 7 games. All right. So you're gonna have to, as I used to say in poker, like before I would make some terrible play, I would say, Clip, dude, take my mouse away from me. Before I do something I might regret. And I would, and this would be kind of our back and forth. So this is the one that would be the take my mouse from me game, because this is probably my favorite. So you got to either talk me into this or talk me off of this. So you have the Diamondbacks, who are going to be just very, like, no one's going to take them ever. Not ever, but this season, like, if you can get away with playing the Diamondbacks and get away with it, then it's kind of a good thing.
Yeah.
And you're getting the Royals and the Rockies. Now, it's not that these are the two worst teams in the world, but it's possible.
They might be,
but it's possible, you know. And that's what I was saying. And while playing in Colorado, it's not really where you want to get them, but you get to play in Colorado too. You know what I mean?
Right.
I have a feel, and the thing is that you're probably, I don't know if this is a good thing or a bad thing, but I think you might get Gallen in one of the at Colorado games.
Yeah.
And I guess that's good. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know exactly if that's good or bad, but I'm kind of into this Arizona play. Tell me what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I think that actually, looking at it again, that probably makes the most sense. I like the idea with the Blue Jays of them getting 6 home games and have a hard time in those series. Seeing them, I think 3-3 and 4-2 is by far the most likely outcome there. It's just a little bit scary, but I don't think so. The Diamondbacks I think they're just an average baseball team. And why wouldn't we take an average baseball team when we can, when they're playing
5-5? Dude, this is what these guys' records are: 5-17 and 6-17.
Yeah, I mean, they're projected to be so 538 has the Royals and Rockies projected. The only team they have worse than the Royals and Rockies for the season are the A's. But they actually have the Royals and Rockies, and they have the Royals the same as the Nationals, winning 62 games as a projection. Rockies projected to win 60. This is a pretty dream matchup, and again, it brings in another question of, are we sure that this doesn't become the chalk?
That's what I'm saying. I'll bet you this. How about this? I think this is going to be the popular team among the no strike people.
Right.
I think
it should be. Yeah.
So yeah, maybe they're going to be, between all three of those, that's going to garner up a bunch of the ownership. So we got to think about that. But the Diamondbacks are really good for having what they call low future value. And that is a really big deal compared to, say, Milwaukee and Toronto, where probably find a time to play both of those teams. Where I'm not exactly sure you're going to be able to find another Arizona. I mean, you'll get other series where you get Arizona with 3 at home against Colorado, I guess.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
Who's going to be sandwiched with the Dodgers or Padres?
Yeah.
Once they get into division play.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on then. Boston. 3 at Baltimore, home against Cleveland. Not really. I mean, 3 at Baltimore. Baltimore, yeah, look at Baltimore. Just
yeah, they're good.
Yeah, no thanks. All right, Dodgers at Pirates, home against the Cardinals. I think they'll be low owned.
Dodgers are the perfect example of a team that you should be waiting on, in my opinion.
The Dodgers
they certainly aren't playing their best baseball yet. There will be guys who they add as the season goes on, as they figure out their bullpen, which has been sort of a mess. I just think that they're a good, safe future play,
Yeah. And maybe the Pirates are really good that we don't know about at 16-7.
They were the team. I wrote the only thing I wrote about the baseball season projections was the Pirates were somewhere like around it was like 75-1 to make the playoffs, or 100-1 or something.
Really?
And I said, that's like one team that I could get behind, because there's enough youth and we don't know who they really are yet, that they could just have one of those weird years. And
dude, my friend, my partner Jack, I mean, he's a big Pirate fan. If we had that baseball, preview show where we talked about that kind of stuff, I would have thrown a 50 spot on the Pirates for that.
Yeah, absolutely. I
would probably like even money or something. Right?
We got to remember to just start doing that before the seasons again, because it's pretty fun. Anyway. We did it for basketball.
Well, let me ask you this: what do you think they are now?
I think they're probably reasonable, because the record at 16-7 is they've already built a little bit of a cushion, but their projections they still got them projected to win 80 games this year. So now 538.
You know what? We don't even have to speculate. We can look at it right here. Hold on.
Okay. I bet you it's going to be pretty reasonable. I bet you it's only going to be like
series prop game team futures. League winner, is that what you're looking? Oh, to make the playoffs. Okay, here we go. Oh, it's thinking. Okay, Pirates plus 5-1.
Still actually pretty reasonable, but
It's not terrible, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. And you don't just win. Yeah, that's right. You make like 30 teams make the playoffs. That's right. I keep forgetting.
Like a lot of them do. Yeah. So it seems like it's a possibility, but my guess is by the end of the year, we're probably not having the conversation. It's just that, they have the weaker of the divisions. It's possible, the Brewers the Brewers are fine, but they're not they've got good pitching. I don't feel comfortable about any other team in that division except for the Cardinals, and the Cardinals have been terrible. So
just for fun, let's look at league winners here. Like what right now?
Dodgers really plus 425.
We're kind of off topic here, but I don't care. Let's look at league winner and see what you can get. Dodgers plus 425 is like a terrible bet, right?
Is that even right? Plus 425?
That's to win
the whole thing, to go to the league.
That's to win the league.
Yeah, I'm thinking about division. My fault.
Win the National League plus 4. That's horrible.
Yeah.
Anybody stand out here?
The Mets a little bit.
No, knowing that all these lines are terrible, like in general.
All the lines are terrible. What are the Mets plus 800?
400.
Oh my God, forget that. I thought it said 8.
It's a disaster.
The best one would be the Phillies.
I was just looking at that. How about I tried this last year to no avail. Any chance the Giants are any good? 35-1 or no?
I just don't. I don't think so. I actually think if before I played the Giants, I'd rather probably take. I mean, it's just hard for the Giants. Like the Giants have a tough division with the Dodgers and Padres in there. It's no pick.
Well, the aforementioned Pirates are 100-1.
I mean,
100-1. That's like a lot.
I know, and that's what it was to make the playoffs, though. At one point, it just feels like we missed out on the value.
I know.
It is pretty crazy. The Cubs have better odds than the Pirates, because the Pirates can just add 3 pitchers at the All-Star, before the trade deadline. And
how about the American League? How about the Orioles at 40-1?
I think it's a very reasonable bet.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm dying to make it, but I think it's totally reasonable.
Everything else.
The team. They could add, 2 of their guys are going to turn into really good pitchers, and then they could add 2 pitchers. Next thing you know, you have a really, really, really tough team to beat in the postseason. So I actually could get behind on that. I can get behind that one.
Maybe we'll do that. We'll talk about that when we do.
Yeah, we'll go another time. But go ahead. I think the best play is the Arizona play.
But hang on, I don't think we're done yet.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were.
So Cleveland, we got now Cleveland. Cleveland, they get 3 home against Colorado for openers. And then they get at Boston, which is not the worst thing in the world.
No.
But the question is Bieber back?
No, he's not. Yeah, I mean, I don't even if he is, do we know how much he'll pitch? It feels a little weird, but maybe not. Maybe that's a reasonable one too that we should consider. Maybe I'm a little just still hurt from what they did to us last week. And the fact that they didn't even play so many of the game, it just was a mess.
So they're rested now, I guess.
Yeah.
Phillies 3 home against the Mariners. Then they're at Houston. No thanks. Seattle 6 games on the road. No thanks. Cardinals 7 games. Giants 4 against Cardinals, but then at Padres. No. Nationals. No. Reds. No. Rockies probably never. And that's it. So
can you go back to the Reds for 1 second?
I thought about it for a second.
It's the closest to the really get weird.
Yeah, I know.
Some extra value.
Well, because they're not going to get DeGrom, right?
And they get 2 Lodolo starts.
2 Lodolo starts. No DeGrom.
1 Hunter Green.
And then at Oakland.
And no DeGrom, and then Oakland. That's the argument. That's their case. They're also fairly good at home, I guess, would be the other argument for them.
So we have the Reds. We have the Reds, the Cleveland. These are fringy, right?
I think it's really fringy. I mean, even as I said it, I say it out loud, it sounds crazy.
Reds, Cleveland, Arizona, Toronto, and Milwaukee.
I like Arizona because I won't feel bad about saving them ever, and all.
And that's a good future value player. That's a good future value. Yeah, let's Well, let's do that. Unless there's weather. Is there weather? There's no zonal weather. There's no zonal weather.
They play in the dome, and then the games in Coors could always be, but we're just gonna have to embrace that one.
That's the one I'm least more. I mean, I'm a little more concerned about.
Coors tries to get them in. They try to get those games in.
That's true.
I mean, they play in the snow. Like they'll make sure to play if they can.
All right, so let's do it. We'll take Arizona, and we are well before start time. All right, so we are in.
At least we got it in this week.
Turn to picks. Arizona, we are good. Picks.
I feel very comfortable. Like I feel very not necessarily comfortable they win everything, but I feel like it feels like the right play to me.
Yep. All right, sounds good. We'll come back in about however long.
Whenever you're ready, I'm happy to do it.
Oh yeah, I'm good. So I just want to make sure people will be there. So if they're used to coming at noon.
Well, I actually don't think that because it's sort of sporadic. We haven't done them all at noon. We've done a few of them at different times. I think we're good to do whenever.
Okay, yeah, I'm ready to go.
Okay, great. I will give me 2 minutes.
Let's give it 5 minutes. So 11:25. I'll get back in. Okay.
Sounds good.